Welcome to People's Choice Podcast, ladies and gentlemen. This is episode 27, and I am honored to introduce you guys to the lovely Shilpa Ananth. Awesome. I had to make sure I got that right. And I know for my viewers, you're probably like, what was that? But I've been trying to make sure I get that right.
That was amazing.
Thank you. And just to give you a small introduction, I mean, I've done some research on you. You're from South India. You're a vocalist, songwriter, composer, producer with a unique sound with a fuse of soul, pop, jazz, and electronic influence. Or yeah. I'm sorry.
No, you're absolutely
My
right.
nerves is all messed up today.
Not at all.
This is like,
it's all good.
I've recorded like 30 episodes, and I'm just now, for some reason, I'm getting like nerves like it's episode 1. This is crazy.
So sweet. No, you're fine. You're doing well. You're doing well.
And also that you graduated with honors from, am I saying this right? Berklee College of Music?
Yeah. Berklee College of Music. Yeah. In Boston, Massachusetts.
Awesome. And you also released a successful debut EP, Indian Soul. That is amazing.
Thank you.
I mean, I got so much notes on you. But if you want to take the honors away from my peeps, that's what I call my audience, my peeps.
Nice.
You want to give a small introduction for yourself?
Sure. So my name is Shilpa Ananth, and I am essentially, as Alvin said, I'm an Indian singer-songwriter. I actually grew up in Dubai in the UAE because my parents happened to be working here at the time. And so I was born here, brought up here. But I guess the UAE is one of the places where, one of the only countries possibly, that you are born here, but you don't get citizenship. So you're an Indian citizen, though you're born here and grew up here and everything. So essentially it's the Middle East. And unless your parents are of Middle East heritage, you are, technically, even though you were born here and everything, you don't get to have that status of citizenship. So essentially grew up here, as you can see, with a major identity crisis, because I'm from Dubai, but I'm not. I'm from India, but then I'm kind of just like I've never lived there. Mm-hmm. So essentially what happened was, after I finished my high school, I moved to India because I realized if I want to get in touch with my roots, and if I want to get in touch with my motherland, because I grew up here, and essentially in the Middle East, especially in Dubai, there are just so many Indians here that I never felt like I was growing up outside of India. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, it just there was something in me that I wanted to go and just experience it living there. And so essentially after I finished my high school, my parents still lived in Dubai, but I moved to Bangalore, which is in South India, and a city in South India. And essentially that's where I did my first college. I studied in Mount Carmel College. I studied media communications and psychology. And then I found out that I got, not found out, but I auditioned and applied to Berklee College of Music, and then found out that I got accepted. And then, once I graduated from that first college in India, I moved to Boston in the US. And then that was kind of where a lot of my musical journey started, essentially. And so now I'm kind of moving around. I'm a gypsy, as I've realized, in this life, so much of moving has happened that I'm okay, still searching for home in a sense, still searching for a place to belong in a way, and writing music in the meantime, trying to figure out what that means for me and expressing it through my art. Indian Soul was one piece of that expression, and now I'm working on Reproduction, which is my second album that's going to be coming out hopefully later this year. It was supposed to come out last year, but obviously the pandemic to 2020 was the year that never happened. So 2021 is the do-over, which looks pretty bleak still, but hoping for the best.
I'll say that sounds actually like a good title name for an album one day, the do-over.
Yeah, exactly. So let's see. Hopefully,
planting them seeds right there for your third album.
Right, the third album, 100%. So that's essentially where I'm at right now, where I'm working on new music. I'm putting out songs as well at the same time with music videos, kind of, just building up the fan base, figuring out just, what I can be doing right now, because I feel like what has happened in the pandemic is just, live music took a big hit. And so like opportunities got down, like everything I was supposed to be on my gigs, on my tours, everything got canceled. All the opportunities went away. So now I'm just trying to figure out how in this new age, or I guess in this moment, because God knows what's going to happen next, what does it mean to like release music, because we're not performing right now? So how else do we get the music out to people, and how do we let people know what we're doing? So I'm kind of glad that you reached out and I'm able to be on this podcast, because who knows who's listening. And
That's true.
hopefully I get a couple more people just like involved, interested, and wanting to, discover some new music. And that's what I'm here to do.
Oh, definitely, and I'll be pushing this to all my peeps out here in North Carolina and
Yes.
beyond. I mean, the show
Yes.
continues to grow, and I just can't wait for the whole world to know you. I mean, you are truly amazing. First thing I remember hearing from yours was a line, and like MB Eileen, shout out to you. You said it best in
Yes.
your Blue Rhymes article. Like you feel it, like chills. Like I mean, like
Wow.
goosebumps. You have an amazing
Wow.
voice,
Thank you.
and
Thank you.
you're welcome. And like with me,
Mm,
I'm obsessed with like great people and their journey. So like my interviews
mm,
is always kind of like going to like starting from the beginning. So what was
yeah.
it like growing up? And I know you said you not technically, I guess, born in Dubai, but like what was it like growing up there at a young age?
Cool. So, yeah, it was a good and interesting experience, because of course, like I said, there's like this one on one side, there's this like identity issue, because I think any time that you're born somewhere that's not in the place that your heritage is from, there's always going to be this like fracture that happens where you're like, wait a minute, so like how much of this culture do I take on as mine, or like, or how much is it okay for me to, or like, sometimes like I would go back every summer to India, because summer break, we would, all of us cousins back home, and kind of our breaks also became like this huge pilgrimage of just meeting all the cousins, meeting all the family members that are there, because we're it's not far away. Technically, it's only 4 hours by flight, so it's actually pretty close, which is why everyone comes here for job opportunities. Essentially, this is like, in a way, if you want to think about it in a relatable way, it's not so much now, but in like 30 years ago, like at the time when Dubai was still new, and like opportunities were big here in that sense. So a lot of people would came here from India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, and a lot of people from Philippines as well. So this place was mainly just in a way, it's like Mexicans coming to America for opportunity, or like actually any immigrants who want to come and think that America is like the land of dreams, right? So
Yep.
so essentially, it's like people from everywhere from nearby came here, and then essentially now we were the labor class that built the city up. And so for me, in that sense, like I grew up here. I grew up around a lot of, there were a lot of Arabs, but there were a lot of Indians. I went to an Indian school. I had a lot of Indian friends. So I never felt like I felt like I grew up in like Little India or something, like an outpost of India in the Middle East. Just I went to Indian restaurants, and like my parents are pretty traditional, pretty conservative. So even though we didn't grow up there, my brother and I have an older brother, we both were raised very much like, okay, you got to go to Indian Carnatic, like South Indian classical voice lessons, like you got to go for South Indian dance lessons, like classical dance lessons. Like we had to kind of adhere to this strict upbringing of like a good Indian child, as it were, as it is like in terms of how it is back in India, so that we could keep up with our cousins as well. So that when we go back in the summer, in the break, it's not like, oh, you can do this, but I can do this, and can you do that? It's just like, yeah. So in that sense, we were raised like that. So I always felt like um, I grew up in India. Like I don't know how it didn't feel any different to me. I just felt like I always felt like I was, and also like, for people who generally like grow up in places like the West, in America and the UK and stuff, I feel like there's such a huge difference in like the culture, so you
Mhm.
get exposed to way more. But here, this is a Muslim country, so if anything, it like the way things are, it's perfect for people who are coming also from this similar type of culture of like kind of women should be a certain way, men should be like all these things are so in like similar in the
Mhm.
culture that like even though I grew up here, it didn't feel to me like any different from what I know from my family's values, from the tradition that I my family was trying to instill in me as a good Indian child, So,
Mhm.
so in that sense, it felt like pretty. I don't know, just normal, or I guess like nothing crazy.
Awesome.
And then like going back to India, it was difficult. That's when you realize like, okay, something's different about you, because then everyone's like, "Ooh, you're growing up in Dubai," and like they try to challenge you because they're like, oh, they. Sometimes it could be jealousy. Sometimes it could just be like, "Oh, I can do this better. Can you do this? You're not growing up here, so do you know how to do this? Or
Mhm.
can you answer this question? Or can you do this math problem?" Like, so much competition between like the cousins.
Really?
So because like it's that thing of like just kind of testing each other to see who's better for not being from the same space, like
Mhm.
you know so and that's when I would kind of feel that difference of like, oh, I'm not, like, I didn't grow up here, so maybe my opportunities are different from theirs, or maybe they have more access to certain things I never could, even if my parents are trying hard to give it to me. And also, like, in this day and age, things are way more connected because of internet, but at that time,
Mhm.
that's not what we had growing up. So I think a lot of my influence like was so double sided, because parents were trying to instill like, okay, classical music, Indian music in terms of Bollywood, or like film, folk music, or like
Mhm.
spiritual music, and then my brother and I were like, Michael Jackson, let's get the cassettes.
Yeah,
you know, like,
I was asking my next question because
yeah.
I read that you're at age 13, your brother introduced you to Western style music
Yeah,
like jazz,
exactly.
rock, hip hop,
Right.
pop.
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
is that where the
Like
love
all
for music
credit.
started for you?
Not the love for music didn't start there. The love for music started because, like I said, my mom and dad heard me just singing randomly as a 3-year old before I could even speak properly. They just heard me singing somewhere in a corner this really complicated rhythmic song,
Mhm.
and they were just like, this 3-year old is like, what's going on with her right now? Is she possessed? So
Well-
that's when they realized like what's happened to our child? What is she saying? And then they're like, oh, she's singing. Okay, oh, maybe we should put her in music lessons. They immediately put me in voice lessons for South Indian classical voice lessons. It's called Carnatic music. So they put me in these classes, and that's when the singing ability and the musical ability started growing in me. I started listening to way more styles as I grew up, and then I think also because of my brother. So at the age of like around 12, 13, I started listening to whatever he was listening to and got very influenced, because I was like, wait, what's this other world of music we've never heard before? Like, we've just grown
Mhm.
up with some things are in the similar kind of, space.
Mhm.
And so, him being the older brother completely corrupted my ears. No, he just
He's gonna watch this and be like, "What?"
yeah, yeah. He's like, I thought I was blessing you, sister. you
Uh-huh.
know? No, he was, because I mean, for me and for him too, like both of us, we bonded over like, because it was like, I mean, everything we had, all our experiences are like, it's common. We've shared them. That's something that we'll always have. And so, for the earliest memories, it is definitely of listening to music together, of like just dancing around to like all these different styles, and him putting me towards like jazz, and like listen to who was it, Ella Fitzgerald and Nina Simone and Nora Jones, and like making me get into different styles. With rock it was like, okay, with pop it was Michael Jackson, and kind of just like it was our shared language. Especially he's like 5.5 years older than me, so sometimes that can be a huge age difference. So I feel like
Mhm.
music was a huge like connector between us. And even with my family and I, like, definitely, even though they're not musicians, but they're music loving. So they love, they do understand good music, and of course, they think only Indian music is good, but that's a tragedy. So,
that was
so yeah, but it was good. It was a good like time growing up and like being influenced by these different styles and genres that definitely pushed my ears and helped me kind of just see what else was out there and also feel connected to a whole new other world of music because feel like as also as you can hear my voice is pretty alto, like I'm in
Mhm.
this kind of lower range, and Indian music typically tends to be very high pitched
Mhm.
and now things are changing of course with the like new generation and new like just new voices coming into the industry, but at the time I was growing up it was definitely like whatever soprano is like clap worthy, everything else is garbage, so so I feel like even for me while like I was studying music it was always difficult because I never thought I was talented or could sing until I was about like 14 or 15
Right.
when I started competing in Western music competitions, vocal competitions out here, and getting, like being awarded and or like going into like final rounds or like or even like listening to the music that my brother was putting me onto and being able to actually like feel like okay there are voices like this, Erica Badu, Nora Jones, like this, if
Mhm.
these voices can be considered talented and these are considered beautiful, then why should I feel ashamed of my voice, so it
Amen.
was for the longest time I didn't even know I could or I didn't think I could, and then I think Western music definitely these styles opened me up and made me feel like I had something, and I think that was huge for me. It was a huge breakthrough for sure.
Definitely, because and I can hear
Yeah.
a lot of your songs. You definitely have that confidence. So,
Yeah. Thank you.
when you decided that you wanted to pursue music as like a career, what was that conversation like with your family and friends? Like, were they supportive?
Whoa.
Were they nervous? Like, because that's kind of like, at least over here, like in North Carolina, like when you tell your family, "Hey, I want to become a rapper or I want to become a singer," they all first they're like, "Psst, okay, you and a million other people." But then you got
Right.
some parts of your family that's like, "Okay, yeah, go ahead." Was that like with you?
I think the only few people that felt immediately kind of just supportive about it were my brother and his wife. So for me, they were a huge kind of like definitely a huge source of support because I think without them it would have been harder for me, like them kind of just like speaking sense into my parents because in our culture also another thing is that it's definitely there's this whole thing of just not like one or two people who are involved in your life but everybody has a say, like your uncles, your aunts, your grandparents, just like literally anyone and everyone thinks that they can weigh in on your personal life and like and
Mhm.
not saying that like that's the thing like it's again I feel sad like because at the same time like I do respect my grandparents, I respect their opinion and their point of view, and I respect my uncles and aunts and everything, but sometimes it's just oh my god, like if I did everything that they wanted me to do I would not be a musician, I would not be
Mhm.
a singer songwriter performing artist, I would not have gone to music school, I don't know who I would be right now. I'd be doing the safe thing just to
Mhm.
basically study engineering or to be a doctor or like be a
Mhm.
lawyer or whatever. These options that are considered the safe, money making options, and like you're also doing good for the world or whatever. So go do that. It's like anything other than that is considered so like fear of the unknown, and no one wants to take a bet, no one takes risks.
Mhm.
And so I feel like if I had listened to all of them, I definitely wouldn't be here right now talking to you about this particular career path anyway. You probably
Definitely.
would not have met. And I feel like it was definitely a difficult conversation. I think that like it took a long time for me to convince my parents, and close to a year in fact I had to keep postponing my decision to study there because I got into Berklee in 2010 September, and then I had to postpone it until the next year so that I could not lose my scholarship, but at the same time have time to just help my parents get there because it was tough for them. I understand, and it's you're letting your daughter go all the way across the world. You don't know
Yeah.
what's and now Berkeley has a bigger name, so a lot more people feel more secure and confident sending their children there. But at like this was 10 years ago we're talking about, so
Hmm.
My parents definitely, they didn't know anything about Berklee, and they just thought that, what's going to come out of this, they have no idea. So it took a while to get them to follow my heart and to understand where I'm coming from, and to understand that I wouldn't be happy doing anything else. This isn't a phase. This isn't like me being a rebel and just trying to be get what I want or something. It's just, this is who I am, and if by not letting me do that, you're not accepting me for my life purpose and for what I'm meant to be doing with my life. So I feel like they came around when they saw that I was passionate, that it wasn't something that I'm just asking for out of just from out of nowhere with any, like, I was serious about it. They could see that, and I think that really helped, like, them come around. I think my brother and sister-in-law coming on board from the start. In fact, my brother was the one who told me the auditions were happening, and the only reason I was able to even do it, the auditions, was because Berklee was doing a world tour and they came all the way to India.
Okay.
So yeah, that really helped as well. There's no way I could have gone all the way to Boston to audition. So
Yeah.
these things, like, how things just happen, and when it happened, it was like super meant to be, and
Yeah.
that's just how it.
I'll say God wanted
Yeah,
it to happen. And shout out to your
exactly.
brother and his wife because,
Yeah,
man, I know that had to be scary because, like you said, basically stepping out the box because a lot of people
absolutely.
are like that even here. They don't want to take that chance. They don't want to take that risk, especially if they don't have the
Exactly.
support. So shout out to your brother
Exactly.
and
Thank
wife.
you. Yeah, it really helps, because I think that, like, even now, I mean, I'm the only person in my family who is a musician. There's nobody else who's gone out of the box to do something other than what's considered normal by society.
Hmm.
So I think that, like, for, like, this is exactly what I'm also working towards. My message is about this as well. It's about empowering women and empowering people to feel like that they have more choices out there, that they can follow their dreams and not feel like as though they have to follow a certain robotic path that's laid out for
Yes.
them, and then that's it. You go from your father's house to your son, like your husband's house to your son's house, and then to the grave. Like, what is that existence, and why are we okay with that? Like, yeah. So that's what I'm trying to break. Like, I keep a lot of my the roots with me, and my tradition is definitely like the parts of it that I approve of and that I.
It's like my sign. It's like, don't forget your roots. I love that one. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. And like, that's kind of where I'm coming from as well, where I do, honor and definitely pay respect for my traditions and for the heritage that has been passed on down to me, and like, I want to make sure that I honor my culture and everything. But
Mhm.
there are a lot of things that, like, I feel the previous generation has just accepted without asking questions. So when we ask the questions, or when we say this is not okay, like, women should not be treated this way, or like, why is this normal, that for them it's difficult, because they've accepted the patriarchy in a very, like, normal, like, this is how it goes, and if you
Mhm.
don't do this, then you're going to have a tough life, so just go with the flow, like, go with the sheep, like, that kind of attitude. And I think that it's important, like, for me, I'm not completely disregarding all of the history, but at the same time, I do carry the things that I feel resonate with me. And then beyond that, I'm like, I can't say this is not okay. Like, I have to stand up for this. I have to stand up against this. I have to put my foot down. Like, this is not okay. And we need to change this so that it can be better for the next, generation, for the next group of people coming through. But
Definitely.
yeah, so it's tough, but someone needs to say it. Someone needs to, put it out there so that more people wake up. That's
Yes.
okay.
And it's
Yeah.
awesome that you're the trailblazer for that because you
Mm.
inspired just me just hearing, your story and we're not even halfway through the interview and I'm like, wow, I'm just trying to like picture from your point of view, but it took a
Yeah.
lot of courage for you to want to not accept the way things are and want to pursue your dreams and happiness. So I applaud you for that.
Thank you. So
Oh,
sweet.
oh, yeah, I'm a sweet person.
Yeah, you are.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, in March 1st, 2014, it said that you
Mm.
freshly moved to New York City. What was that
Yeah.
experience like? Because
Wow,
work
you
is
did
a
your homework.
oh well, I try.
You've been stalking. Nice. So March, yeah, March 1st, 2014. That's exactly when it happened. So I was in Boston for 3 years, close to 2000, yeah, 3 years, and then basically graduated from Berklee, and then decided that I wasn't gonna stay in Boston any longer. Like, because a lot of people, that's the natural decision is like, okay, I'm gonna stay here for a while. I got my kind of connections now here, so I'm gonna just stay here. But for me, it was like, I mean, while I was at Berklee itself, I went to LA, I went to New Orleans, I went
Okay.
to where else did I go? Nashville. I of course went to New York. I went to Philadelphia. So I went to a bunch of these different places that are a hub for music, and
Mhm.
decided that like, okay, I these places are all cool. Like New Orleans, I was in love with, and honestly, I wish I could have just moved there, to be honest. But New York to me felt like a good option because I was immediately drawn to that city. I would go there pretty much like almost in a month. I would go at least for 2 weekends. I had like a couple of my closest friends living there as well. Like, so a bunch of us like moved from India/Dubai at the same time to the US. So I was the only one who was living in Boston, but three of my friends lived in New York.
Mhm.
So it was nice to kind of have like my close friends also, even though it's like a 4.5 hour bus ride, but
Mhm.
at least they were nearby. At least they weren't like in a different time zone from me. And
Mhm.
so every other weekend, like I would go to New York to just meet them, party, like get to know the city, take the subway, like just get to know the neighborhoods and stuff.
Mhm.
And so by the time I moved to New York, I really was like, okay, I'm just moving to my next home. Like it felt like that for me, of course.
Mhm.
Um, and it was, though, of course, like, when you're transitioning from a student into real life, it's something completely different because in school, I was in college, like I was definitely, like super motivated, and like you got like your teachers, your classrooms, your classes, your work, your shows, your rehearsals, and so you're so busy and you're working. Like I was
Mhm.
working 3 jobs while I was at school, and like,
Oh
so I feel like
wow.
there was a lot like that I had to be like, okay, I'm up, I'm gone all day. I just literally would come back to my apartment, just go to sleep, and that's it. Get up the next day, I would hustle. So for me, New York was interesting in the beginning because I didn't have a job. Like it's not like other fields or career fields paths
Mhm.
where you go to like engineering school by the end of your college graduation. Like they do these recruitment fairs and stuff, and they take like by the end of
Yeah.
your graduation, you're meant to have a job and you move to that specific city, whatever. Those That's normal, right, in every other field. But I feel like with music that's not the case. And like I had some kind of, I mean, I'm a performing artist. I knew I wanted to keep performing. That was what I wanted to do. But you can't just depend on your performances for rent money and like for all other, survival money.
Mhm.
So it was difficult in the beginning for quite a while. And I would say even until the end, I was like just getting through, because like just getting by, because I think that like when you're there and you're living in New York City, and at the same time you're trying to work all these jobs, and you're trying to be creative, and you're trying to like find a good job that makes sense for you. Like it's a lot. So I think Indian Soul was actually born from that place of like kind of the struggle and like the uncertainty and just the confusion that I felt from like transitioning from like a place like Berkeley and Boston, which is, it's a well-oiled machine. Like you meet your friends every day, like you see people in classes, like you've
Mhm.
got that like, I'm doing this, I'm going places, I've got
Mhm.
this next thing, next gig, like I'm good. And then you go to a place like New York, and then literally you're just like, wait, what am I doing right now? What's my life like? I
Mhm.
have no plans, like I have no job, I have no idea how I'm gonna make rent. Like, so it took a while for me to find, the kind of like people and connections and like things, and just being connected to my purpose. And like, so in the meanwhile, I was writing music, I was performing a lot, and especially as an international student over there and as an international citizen, um, like they give you after school, you get like 1 year on a specific like it's a student work visa.
Okay.
type of thing. And then once you finish that 1 year, a lot of people tend to go back to their home countries because they don't have enough material to apply for this thing called an artist visa, which is the next visa that you need to be on when you transition from being a student.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, it was important that in that 1 year, 2014 was my year from like graduating and being in New York, and I had to like prove myself so that the
Mm-hmm.
immigration system would take me seriously and grant me the artist visa a year later. So I really burnt out from working so hard and just like for little to no money, trying to like just make ends meet and trying to like just survive there. So New York was a huge slap in the face, like
Huge
just
culture
like
shock.
being, yeah, yeah, huge, and just like I'm like, what is this? None of the TV shows or books or movies ever show this side of things. Like they're all just sitting in a coffee shop looking so happy. Like what is going on? I was not about that life. And I really like there were moments where I was like, wow, I live in New York, but I could live anywhere in the world at this point because all I'm doing is working and sleeping. Eating, working, sleeping.
Mm-hmm.
So why do I have to live in the most expensive city in the world for this? I
Oh,
could be living somewhere, a little bit cheaper, but then
cheaper in
commuting. Like
North Carolina.
I know. Oh my God, Alvin, I swear, I actually have had this like dream of visiting like Charleston because there's like this
Mm.
huge music festival that happens there. I've had my eyes on it for like a while to like perform in North Carolina. So who knows? This might be the
Fingers,
beginning of
fingers crossed.
yeah,
I would love to see you
everything.
there, or Charlotte's a beautiful
Yes.
city. If you want to get that city
Yes.
feel,
Oh,
Raleigh.
Charlotte. Yeah. Sorry, I didn't mean Charleston. Charlotte.
It's
Yeah,
all
Charlotte.
good.
Yeah. It's like, what? I've been away from America too long. I forgot all the words.
It is all good.
Charlotte. Yeah. So yeah, that I forgot even the name of the festival I was talking about, but like probably should remember these things. But yeah, I think like for me it was a big one to like to live in that city, to feel like a part of that system, to find my community again in that space where all of us are so busy, we're running the rat race. Like it like took a lot of time to, and I think I'm still kind of cracking the code because it's not. I don't think I know the answer yet of like how to make it in New York yet. I feel like you can make it in New York, but you need to like maybe you need to go somewhere else and then go into like you need to be in and out of the city, I think, in order to be sane and like doing well in that city, I think.
And they always have a saying too. If they always say, if you can make it in New York, you can make it anywhere.
Exactly,
Oh,
which brings you down even more when you're
yeah,
feeling like because what does it mean to make it, right? Like because everyone's idea of success can be something else, and like
exactly.
so for me it was like okay, sometimes like just being able to have a steady paycheck made me feel like I'm making it here. Another time I'm like okay, I've saved up, I can like work on my next music video. That was success. Like so I
Mm,
feel like, and then the thing is once that thing is done you're like okay, well now what? And it's like ups and downs, waves, and I think that's something normal for an artist. And I think it's just about like having a good community. I think like your friends and family need to be super supportive because if there are people tearing you down and you're also like just getting worn out by the city you're in and feeling also like you're trying to do so much and it means nothing, I think that's when it gets you like oh my god, what's the point of all this? Like what does it even mean, like
that's true.
and yeah, and I think like for me this past year being in the pandemic and being outside of New York actually gave me a lot of perspective. And somehow sometimes I think like in New York there are so many dreams and so many people who want to make their dreams come true, and there's so much energy and chaos that I think that when you're outside that craziness, you actually think a little bit more, just a little bit calmer, a bit more deeper,
Mhm.
straighter, and you're able to be like, okay, this is what I want to do. Calm down. Okay, let's do step by step, because over there you're like, I want to do this, and then I want to do
Oh
that,
yeah,
and then
it's
I want to go to
fast
the show.
paced. Yeah.
Exactly. Like, and you see all your other friends doing all these things. You're like, oh, yeah, I want to go attend that show. Like, okay, I got to go support that friend. Okay, I got to go do this. So by the end of it, you're like, wait, a year has gone by, or like 5 years have gone by, and they're like, wait, what just happened? And what did I do? And like, taking stock. can make you feel very anxious, I think. So it's important. Like for me, I really understood that the way to survive in New York, if you're living there, is to like take as many mini breaks as possible, like go upstate or go to Boston or get out and just like what do you call it? Decompress and
Decompress.
disconnect.
Yeah,
Yeah, and
definitely.
disconnect so that when you come back in, you don't feel so like shaky and like kind of out of sync. You just feel like, okay, I'm back. I appreciate the noise because I had some time to reflect in the silence. Otherwise, it's just noise all the time, and you
Mhm.
become deaf. Like literally become deaf.
It's a
Yeah.
crazy. It's a crazy city. That's why I knew I had to ask that question because I've been in New York a couple times. I got family out there, and
Nice.
I'm originally born in Connecticut and from there. And
Ah.
I went to New York a lot of times. Yeah, going and
Mhm.
it's a culture shock just from Connecticut to New York, and that's just like I don't even know how many,
Definitely.
but it's not even that. Like it's maybe 2 hours, 3 hours.
2 hours.
If
Yeah,
that, yeah, I
that's
think
it.
2 hours. So going from from you from going to Boston or even from being in Dubai and going there, I know that had to be like what the heck is going on here in New York.
Yeah, for sure. It was crazy. Oh my God. Yeah.
so, so let's talk a little bit about 2020. I know 2020 has been a crazy year time for everyone during the pandemic. So
Yeah.
how was you affected by the pandemic, especially at its peak during COVID-19?
So how was I? Did you ask? Because I think I lost you for a second.
Yeah, like how did you like how was you
How was I
affected by
affected?
it? Yeah, not saying like you had it or anything, just like just like changes and
Yeah, yeah,
duck and stuff like that.
absolutely. So for me, it was like mental, I think, because what happened was I was starting off last year. 2020 was like my year of like, okay, artistic and creative explosion. I felt like I kind of got like a couple of things going for me. Like I had this India tour for all of January and February last year. So I was touring, I was releasing music, I was working on like shooting the video for my next music video. It's gonna put it out, go on tour in the US. Like I had all these like things going on planned. Like I released my album in the fall. Like put it through for the Grammys. Like there was this huge like I don't know. You know how like chaos, 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 and then suddenly it's like whoosh,
Hmm.
silence, and out of that silence, like leaving New York, being in India, feeling that spiritual connection, and just like feeling also just like just seeing how much of an amazing audience I was received by with my music. Like to me, that was huge in terms of motivation. I was like, this is great. Like I never knew that my music could do so well back home. So I was in this place of complete just in the zone with my creativity and my artistry and feeling like I'm going somewhere. Like because usually like in the East Coast, you know how it is. Like winters are so brutal, and for me, like 8 years of like tough winters and still not feeling like I'm used to it. And especially as a vocalist, like you get sick and it weather change and like being in the heat inside and then outside it's too cold and you're wearing all these layers. Like I was just down for, and then like people wouldn't come for shows because it's too cold. So I always felt like nothing much was happening in the winter anyway. So basically it was just it was a decision that I made that okay, in 2019 November I was like, I'm getting out of here. Like I'm gonna sublet my place, I'm gonna go to India, I'm gonna work on new content, I'm gonna work on new music, I'm gonna go on these shows like and do gigs and tour all around, and I'm gonna escape the winter here because at that point the summer is amazing. Like the weather how it is in India and in the UAE and stuff at the time is it's the opposite. So it's really nice weather out here. It's the best weather. So I was just like, okay, like this is great. I'm gonna like have like 24/7 get the sun. Like it's gonna be so nice. It's not gonna be too hot. Like right now, it's super hot. Like I'm dying over here, like
Really?
sweating.
What's the
Yeah.
temperature right
Like
now?
right now, oh my God, I don't know how to tell you in Fahrenheit, but it has gone up in degrees. It's gone up to 52 degrees at one point, which I'm pretty sure is like in the 90s for
Okay.
like or hundreds even. Like I don't even know. Yeah.
I'll say like right now over here we're at like 87. So it's
87. Okay, let me
mhm.
see. 52 degrees into Fahrenheit. Hold on. Degrees to Fahrenheit. Hold on. We have to find out. It's 125, son.
Oh god. Oh god.
I'm
I would
dying.
I would
I'm melting.
oh my gosh, yeah, like I would be so crispy.
Yeah. Well, that's
Well
exactly
done.
what's happening over here. We're just like crispy
My
human bodies walking
yeah.
around, like,
Oh my goodness.
frying. Brains are fried, like, just you're just crazy. But yeah, basically, like for me, pandemic was difficult because I was on this rise, so to speak, of like, okay, like everything's going well. I escaped the winter, like I'm on tour in the summer in India, like everything's amazing, like got someone to sublet my apartment, so that's taken care of. Otherwise, I was always kind of worried, like who's gonna take care of my place and like
Mhm.
upkeep and everything. So when everything worked out, I was so surprised and happy. And then, of course, I once that tour finished, I came to Dubai in March, and essentially was gonna just be here for a month. My trip back to New York was on April 1st. My plane tickets were booked,
Oh
and
man.
then
Right
and
before,
then of
yeah.
course, like yeah, lockdown happened in March. We all got like completely quarantined, shoved inside our houses, and everything changed. And so for me, it was yeah, it was crazy because I definitely felt like my whole career was gone in one moment. I
Mhm.
didn't know what was going on. Like I had to change my plane tickets for another month. I thought, okay, June. Then June came around, nothing. All my gigs were canceled. July, August. And so for me, it was like, what's happening? And then I'm also like, I left my childhood home, this place that I'm living in, when
Mhm.
I was 17. And then to come back here almost 10 years plus later to then, be with my parents, like who, I mean, I feel like it was a great growing experience to like be in this situation with them where I'm back home after so long. So we're actually getting to discover each other at this time of our lives, which is, I'll cherish these memories forever. But it's also difficult because, I'm a grown up, and it's
Mhm.
hard for them to accept that. It's hard for them to accept that
You
I'm
always have that
independent.
little baby.
Exactly. Like I've lived outside for so long that to come back to all these rules and like things, it's just, it's like mentally taxing, so like it took a while for me to get used to just the new reality that I'm stuck here, that I'm not going to be going back to New York. And then by that point, my landlord in Brooklyn kicked me out and was like, if you're not coming back, we got to evict you. And so just a lot of loss and grief all at once, because I was like losing my work. I was not sure what's happening with my future. I was stuck here. We didn't know if we were what was happening. Like it was at that point, like, are we gonna die? So
Yeah. Yep. It was
you
scary.
know, exactly. And then it was like I'm living with my parents too, so I was also scared for their life, because maybe being a younger person, I would be okay stepping out, getting the groceries, but what if I brought something back to them and my grandmom lives here? And
Mhm.
like, so for me, it was always just like I have to stay inside so that I protect them. And then being evicted too, it was like my friends went in and packed up my things and moved it to my brother's. Like movers came and took it. So I never even got to say goodbye to my apartment.
Oh
Like
my.
no closure, you know and for me, in a lot of ways, it was that really just like, it broke me at that time. But then somehow during the months like of August, I decided, like, okay, you know what, like, I need to pick myself up. I need to do what makes me like feel safe and sane, and if I don't, I'm going to completely lose myself in this, and I would never want that. Should not be the outcome of all this. Like
Definitely.
um and like I need to now pick myself up, rise from these ashes, and kind of make something for myself, so I can be proud of like of what these changes have made me into, and not look back with complete regret, so
Definitely.
then what I did was I was working on new music. I ended up like shooting a music video over here in Dubai, And then that's Align 2.0, basically, the second version.
Yeah, I was
Yeah,
gonna
yeah,
talk about
yeah.
that. I love it. I love it.
Thank you. Thank you. It was crazy. Like, again, to do all that during the pandemic, like, it was insane that was such another experience because, like, 1 minute you're shut inside your house, next minute you're around people. You're like, do I even know how to talk to people? And let alone lead this whole group and like choreography and
Hmm.
learn moves and like put it together and production and everything. And it was just insane. And like getting people to do it and just it was definitely a very, very, very special moment when it all came together.
Yes.
And yeah, and I think like those moments, and then also I found out that Berklee, the college that I studied at in Boston,
Yep.
that they opened a new branch in Abu Dhabi, which is another emirate. It's the capital city essentially.
Hmm.
So basically they opened a branch. Sorry, did you lose me? Okay, well,
Just
let
a
me
little
just put
bit.
my
It's all
charge.
right.
I'll just charge my phone. So essentially, I reached out to Berkeley, Abu Dhabi, being like, "Hey, like I'm in Dubai right now. I'm happy to come by and do a show or something. What's going on? Like, I heard you guys just opened this year and then you had to close. So, like, do you want me to come and do a workshop? Like, I don't know. Do you need any help?" And they were like, we're gonna interview you for a job. Let's like we're looking for a voice instructor. Let's do this." And I was like, okay, something's happening. It's all like I need to trust this, the plan, that the universe has for me. This is a part of all of the shit storm that we've just gone through. Some
Yes.
blessings are coming out of it.
Hmm. So
And essentially, yeah, that so getting that job also helped me just process this reality and shift a lot better. Yeah.
yeah, I was gonna say like I mean there was a lot of like bad that happened in 2020, but also
Yeah.
some good. Like I seen that you won best independent artist through Blue Rhymes in
Yes.
2020. Congratulations.
Ooh.
You got the I'll say yeah, we can clap with that. Shout out to Blue Rhymes Entertainment. Kathleen,
Yes.
love you, girl. Continue to do your thing. What was that
Yes.
experience like when you found out that with everything you were just going through, like just what you talked about, then to hear that, what was that like?
Yeah. That was one of the biggest surprises for me, honestly, because yeah, like you said, shout out to Blue Rhymes and Marina and everyone, the whole team, and they've been so supportive and they've been so consistent with just like with just being so on top of it with me. And I just think that like their belief in me has helped me as well, just to feel like, okay, like i'm not I'm not completely crazy. Like maybe I do have something to offer, because it can be so difficult sometimes when everyone's going through their own version of the pandemic and their own stories. And like, I think that like any little bit of support, it makes big difference. And I think that like hearing that I was awarded that was huge. And it helped me just feel a lot more confident, more safe, more just like, okay, I'm on the right path. I'm still on the right path. I need to not give up on myself right now. I need to continue so that I can hopefully grow and get better, and and get it out there, get myself and my music out there, my message out there, so that more people like Blue Rhymes and like the team there will be able to be a part of my journey, and then hopefully more support and more just more energy to put out for sure.
Definitely, and shout out to them
Yeah.
again. And that's why I discovered a lot of stuff about you from their articles. And there was
Amazing.
one that I actually wanted to ask you about that
Yeah.
I jotted down where you quoted where you said, "I started my own little blacklist of venues and managers that I would update secretly and faithfully whenever necessary." A sort of reminder of who not to turn into as I dive deeper into the music industry. Can you explain some of the bad experience that motivated you to create that list?
I think there was just so many crazy experiences because, like, I think when you're like up and coming musician and performing artist, like you're bound to just have all of these kind of crazy experiences. Like,
Hmm.
I mean, there's just been, other than for just like the regular kind of profiling and just like, just kind of being looked over because of the fact that I'm either not an American citizen or I'm, I look the way I do.
Hmm.
So I think that like amongst those kind of reasons, there's also just been so many situations where like one that comes to mind immediately as well is that is a gig where I won't go too much into like names and stuff,
Yeah, sure.
but of course, like, playing at this like huge venue, and it was one of my first gigs, and having just moved to New York, and it was so crazy because like I was also learning from these experiences, and
Hmm.
the booking agent of that space literally, as I'm going up the stage, that's when he decides to tell me like, hey, we told you that we need you to bring about 30 people. We've got about 15 people from your group here. So if you can't bring like 30 people, we're gonna cut your set down to half. So you have 40 minutes, we're gonna give you 20 minutes. And I was just like, what? Like, I'm going up the stage right now and you're telling me this news. Like, so I
Oh my
mean, for me
goodness.
it was
That's
bad. It was such a shock because I was like, okay, there's 15 people here. That's still a good amount of people, and there are more people coming, and just
hmm
like people don't like it's like in any city. I don't think any, like, unless your friends are specifically like the ones who are like who show up at 7, who
hmm
say when they show up at 7 they're gonna show up at 7. It's like people are like 7, okay, 7:30, I'll be there,
hmm
so from that experience, I learned to tell people like that I know would be late, like, okay, be there like 6:30, or like if the show's at 7, I'll be like 6 p.m. And then of course, like some people show up at 6 and then they're pissed, and then they're like, and then also then you're like, so you're in this situation because people in New York have no time. So the ones who come on time are like, you're wasting my time. And then
hmm
the ones who come late are like, this is great, I didn't miss anything. And I'm like, how do I cater to this audience? So yeah, so basically it was like this craziness in the beginning when I gave people the time of the show and people showed up on time, and then as the show was going on, people were showing up. So he let me play for the full 40 minutes.
Okay.
But it was messed up for me because in my mind I'm like, okay, the next person's coming, okay, that's 16, okay, that's 20, okay, that's 25. Like I was kind of counting. So I'm also like, as an artist, I'm not being the artist on stage. I was so petrified that they were going to just, like stop my time. And also it means that I need to cut my set list down. So I had to change my set list on the spot and be like,
hmm
guys, we're not doing that song anymore, there's no time, we got to move on, like, or just do the next thing, not this. So there's a lot of things happening on stage that, yeah, in a lot of ways, yes, it helps you, just face the situation, challenges. Protest happening, I see. They're enjoying my story.
That's my
Yeah.
niece. I'm so sorry.
No worries, no worries. No, but so that was the thing. So basically it was like I on stage, it helped me kind of like, think quickly, to get into that place where you have to make these decisions and still be looking super calm and under control.
hmm
But then the shitty thing that the booking agent did, like he was also sitting, with the sound engineer, and he saw that I had these all the people and more that came through for me in the end. So he, let me go on until my full set. But then what he did, which was a very shady move, so like as I'm introducing my band,
hmm
I'm like, this is this person on drums, he's on keys, like this, and
hmm
my name is, and he just like basically cut my sound off.
Oh my goodness.
And then like blasted, Billie Jean is not my love. And I'm like, are you serious with me right
Oh man, you're better
now? I
than
was
me.
like,
When I would have went, if I was you, I would have went backstage and some stuff would have happened.
oh my God. This is one of those places that's so famous and they don't have backstage nothing. They know they put on these drama things so that whatever happens, it has to happen in front of everyone.
hmm
So like I was just so shocked because I was like, I gave you what you wanted. Why couldn't you give me that extra 1 minute to just say my name? Like what is that?
For
So for
real.
me, it was like immediately that name was in my book. That name is like one of the many names from the beginning that I'm like, I'll never play that venue again. I'm not going to be supportive of that space. Like, they don't care about their artists. They're just doing this. Like, yes, everything is a business. And I understand, like, they're trying to make their money and this and that. But I think, come on, if you're going to take a chance and book a new artist, like, you have to also be a little accommodating and supportive and understand that, you know, um, that, okay, it might take a second for them to get their wings on, like, not just like, I don't know, this was for me, it was such a weird place. And I realized like, okay, there's one way. Like my parents always kind of, saying no to me. That is one way to deal with me. But I appreciate that sometimes because it made me stronger. It made me realize what I want. Sometimes I fight for everything that I want, because when they say no to me, it makes me think of like, okay, how badly do I want this? How much will I go to get what I need and what I want, But
True.
then in a way, it's like wasn't that. This was some petty like vengeance type of thing that I'm like, you couldn't wait 1 second more. Like after destroying my peace of mind before going on stage, you couldn't let me say my name,
Hmm.
you know. So
Yeah, I
I
would
don't know. So
definitely
these
grabbed them and.
yeah, yeah. Next time I do a gig, I'm taking you. Like that's it.
All
You
right,
my
yeah,
manager.
I got you.
Yes.
That's just rude.
Yeah, because honestly, and like these kind of experiences, that's when I was like, okay, this is great. Like, I'm just not gonna support this establishment or these people because they don't care about me. So I don't need to. That's not how I'm gonna rise up the New York music scene. I'm gonna find my own way, even if it takes more time. But I'm gonna do it the right way, like and with what aligns with my values. So
Definitely.
yeah,
And I guess to bring happier times, let's talk about Align. I love that the video. I love the remix. It's just
thank you.
amazing. And in hearing the backstory behind it, from dealing with the pandemic and then trying to get everyone choreographed, because the choreograph was awesome. I mean, like
Thank you. Yes.
I can't talk highly enough about that. I actually want to put splices of that into this interview when I post this out
Do
there because it's
yes.
awesome. So, what was the message that you were trying to tell, like for the newer viewers that will see this, that are, or your fans?
Yeah. Absolutely, absolutely. So the difference between Align and Align 2.0, I think it was definitely from a point of view of two different people, which is I feel that's who I am as well. There's this one side of me that's really calm and collected and just in general very much like the introvert in a sense, and then there's this other side of me that's absolutely crazy and like on another level of a hype and like just
Hmm.
super extroverted. So I think that like for me, what I was trying to say was like one story was from a point of view of that more introverted, the art, like the point of view of an artist, like told from different points of view. Because there's one person who's like in a type of like just sitting in a studio type of setting, and then it's got all these different layers of like live, like who you are as an artist when you're working and in the creative space, and then how you are perceived when you are like performing on stage, as opposed to how you are perceived when you're none of these roles and you are just who you are normal.
Hmm.
And so for me it was like an expression of figuring out all these pieces of myself. And like and Align also is, it's half in Malayalam, which is one of my South Indian languages that I speak. So it's from my native state, Kerala. So basically I speak Malayalam, and so half the song is in Malayalam and half the song is in English. And the parts that I'm speaking in Malayalam are singing in Malayalam. They're talking about that sense of identity, like who am I and when will my time come. So the
Hmm.
whole song is about this journey of like you know uh, figuring out when will the planets and stars align in order to make my dreams come true, in order to make help me become the person I know I can be, and to help me become that woman empowered in her mind, body, spirit, soul, everything. So essentially, the song is like completely a journey through the feeling of not belonging, and the journey of someone who has been searching for home and who doesn't identify with the things that she's seen so far, and so she's still trying to figure out when her time of becoming that that person that she knows she can become. So that's what Align is mainly the journey is about. Align 2.0 with all the choreography and the craziness. So that's like my alter ego in that sense of like, the crazy one. And I think that like, and I
It
feel like
had like
this,
a really nice pop style to it. I really liked it.
yes, exactly. Yeah. Architect and I worked on that the remix together, and it just, he's incredible, incredible. Shout out to him, producer from Brooklyn.
Hmm.
He's insane. And so for me, it was like an honor to work with him. We both went to Berklee as well at the same time. So it was so nice to kind of, when you like know someone from school, but you've not worked with them in a while. You haven't like really
Hmm.
interacted with them, and then you come together and make some really dope music and like dope art together. So for me, it was like Align 2.0 was just Align on steroids in a way. Like who would the artist be if she found in a way if she found herself? It was like that person was in the first video was this very much like intro person, and this person is is like out there, that now she's become that person that she thought she could be, like she knew she could be, that kind of thing. So the video in itself is like this woman traveling through three different worlds. One is like this black and white robotic world. She doesn't feel accepted there. She's just going through the routine every day: wake up, take your stuff, go to work, live that rat race life, and everything is very precise and just like, very routine, robotic.
Hmm.
And then what happens is she discovers this like hourglass is the thing that's has the power to change time, to potentially take her to a different world, even though she has no idea about the power. But she realizes that the other minions are trying to keep her away from touching the hourglass for some reason. So
Hmm.
that's when she touches the hourglass towards the end. Like the first minute is about like her trying to get to the hourglass without them seeing. She manages to touch it and turn it upside down, and she goes into the new second world, which is where it's that world is like the opposite of the first world. So if the first world is controlled by time, the second world is like the opposite. It's complete chaos. It's like drug fueled kind of world, where the first world is like very much like, just no one's gonna get in your space. No personal, there's no like boundary, like no one's gonna go and cross the boundaries. But in the second world, people are like, they come and grab her, they're ready to dance with her, they're in her like in the zone, trying to get her to be friends with them. Like it's all social media and like,
Hmm.
kind of a reflection of our reality right now, where everything is like everyone's too connected in a way,
Oh,
and time sometimes doesn't seem to exist for us, and then we're out of time most of the time because we're so involved in ourselves and our lives, and in other
that's
people's lives, right?
that's so true. I was actually talking to a buddy of mine where I was like, man, sometimes I wish there was more than 24 hours in a day, man. Like it goes by so fast sometimes.
Exactly, exactly. And I think that like, so Align 2.0 speaks mostly about that difference between time and versus the world with no time, and how the artist realizes as she's going through these worlds that it's not like as though this world is any better than the world she just came from, that color isn't any better than black and white, and like no routine is not any better than routine, or like chaos isn't any better than being super robotic. So that's when she breaks the hourglass. Instead of just turning it and going into a different world, she breaks it and creates a world of her own, which is the gold goddess world, where instead of time, they're following nature. So that's where the hands are coming out of her like branches. The two worlds collide essentially, and the members of the first world and the second world come together, and they all create a third world together, where they follow nature. And that's the world that she feels that she's belonging in, the one that she finally understands what life is really about. Like the meaning of life is not to follow time.
Wow. That's like
Yeah.
literally from just our conversation we've had. Literally, I'm just picturing that and then picturing the video. I'm like, wow, you're really talking about you, basically. Like,
Yeah.
oh, I was like, oh, that's amazing. I can't wait for this to
So
come out for all
connected.
my people to see this. This is awesome.
I can't wait.
I,
Thank you. Yes.
I just got a few more questions that I
Yeah.
wanted to ask. One thing I like to, well, there's two things I like to ask my
Yeah.
guests because I'm a big quote guy and I love to stay positive and stuff. So like I always ask my guests, what's their favorite quote that they lean on, either in the good times or bad times?
Ooh, so there's this philosopher called Friedrich Nietzsche, and I think his quote is something that I've held on to for as long as I can remember, many, 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 like or close more than a decade. But it goes like this: those, uh, like it's always like a twist because it like ah, those who could dance were seen as insane by those who could not hear the music. So yeah,
I
like
like
those who could
that.
dance were seen as insane by those who could not hear the music. So I think that like for me that's a huge one, because that is also again like so connected to my life and like
Hmm.
what I'm trying to do, and how crazy people think I am for just like for doing what I'm doing, and for like, you know, kind of aspiring for something that they have no idea. Because especially when, you know, like as a society and as a community, when you're so used to like, okay, from this you go to this and you get this, and then you can save up to get this, and then you become a supervisor, and then you become a
Mm.
manager. And like when you don't have those kind of roles in your life, in your job, and your and milestones that you're following, then people are just like, wait, that person's insane, you know, like what's wrong with them? Like they don't think like, okay, maybe there's something wrong with me, that I want them to follow these, you know, these rules. But I think that like, so for me that quote has always just made me feel at home, because I'm like, okay, like if this something like this exists, it's because someone went through this and they felt the need to create something that would then resonate with someone years later, you know, decades later. And it's always made me feel like, okay, I'm not insane just because they can't hear the music. You know. Yeah.
I love that quote. That's awesome. I can't wait to
Thank
splice
you.
that. I actually did an episode recently where I spliced all my quotes I asked my guests into
Quotes.
one, and now I'm going to be working on part two eventually when I get more guests in. So your quote's
Nice.
actually going to be the first one. So congrats.
Woo! Yay! I can't wait. I can't wait.
So my next question is: you've done so much in your career. I mean, just mind blowing from the performances. You've worked with Grammy nominated people. You're actually a vocalist on a Grammy nominated song, right? If I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
So,
Yes. Yes. Yes.
you ever just sit back and think about everything you've been through in life and just feel so like, wow, I can't believe I got through that? Or like, do you ever do that, or do you just keep moving forward?
I think it. I think it is quite amazing to a certain extent, and I've learned now over the years to enjoy the victory as it happens, because sometimes so many things are happening at the same time. So when you do get a victory, it's like, okay, that's great, but I need to focus on this other thing and the next thing, and then I need to make sure that that's because sometimes this victory is coming from some effort and fruit that, or like a seed that you sowed like maybe months ago, years ago, or like something that now it's like some it does sometimes it can be a little delayed. So
Mm,
you might have, or you might be in a place where you're like, I can't even enjoy that right now because I have a billion other things. I need deadlines. I have to, you know, so much to finish up, and like. But I think over time I have definitely gotten better about just being like, okay, what is like maybe a small ritual where I just sit down and meditate and offer that prayer of gratitude, that like, okay, you know, thank you, because well, you know, if I don't do that, I'm just gonna I'll think like, okay, I'm gonna celebrate this with my friends when I see them, then we forget, like it's months go by, something else happens. So I think it's important, like especially when I heard about the Grammy nomination for like with the this album that I sang on with this Serbian vocal group that I sing with called Rosa. So we were nominated in this album by this other singer, songwriter, composer called Thana Alexa. So it was her album. We were featured vocalists on that album. So um, essentially all of us got nominated when that album got nominated for best jazz vocal album, and that was a huge just like a big win and a big moment where I was like, okay, this is insane, like I am so close to my, this is like a piece of my dream has been achieved. Maybe it didn't happen yet in the way that I thought, like my name would be the one with the album that's getting it,
mm-hmm.
but sometimes not, like maybe the whole thing doesn't happen all at once. Maybe it's a piece that happens now, and then little by little you pick up the crumbs and you get the big pie, you know. But
Mm-hmm.
I think at first I was definitely just like completely in shock, and then also just like excited because I never dreamed that it would happen. And then when it did happen, I was just like, okay, this is amazing. Like it's not happening exactly the way I'd always dreamed it, but it's still a dream. And being Grammy nominated is so huge, and it's it's a dream come true. So I'm just gonna take this win, and I'm so happy that it happened when it happened. So yeah. And I do like I learned now to just kind of celebrate things as they're happening, because to put it off is like to never do it. So just gotta be in the present, enjoy, offer a prayer of gratitude, and then move on to the next thing. Yeah.
Awesome. I'm glad you do, because there's some people that really don't, and I'm just like, you should be proud of yourself. Like you go,
Yeah.
So I'm glad you do, because you've just learning more about you. You overcame so much, and the fact that I feel like you're still just beginning. Like I feel like your
Yeah.
future is super bright on
Mm.
your music career and beyond. So
Thank you.
you're welcome.
Yay.
You're welcome.
No, it's so sweet. No, I truly hope so, because I feel the same way. Like I feel so much is happening. And sometimes it can make you like, I think as a musician as well, it's tough to, like I said, there's no levels. So sometimes you're like, oh my God, like I got this amazing gig, and like, or oh my God, like I got this, incredible award or a nomination or opportunity. And like, so it makes you feel like you've crossed all the levels, you've gone to the, to that place of like just absolute nirvana in terms of where you want to be in terms of success and like your levels of success and achievement. But then the thing is, it's just a matter of kind of like not feeling down when it's not something that happens all the time and every day, because I think like I've been doing so much, and like you said, I'm just scratching the surface of things, like that's how I feel myself. So sometimes that can be a depressing thought, because I'm like, God damn it, I'm so exhausted. Like, and I'm still not there yet. This marathon has worn me down. But then at the same time, I'm like, it's okay, because I'm learning so much, and I'm meeting so many amazing people, and I'm growing, and if I'm not exactly there yet, it's because there's still things I need to figure out, and that's okay. Like those things will only help me get stronger and get better, and hopefully when things blow up for me, whatever that means, I hope that I'm ready for that, and I know I'll be ready. Yeah.
You definitely will. What can the fans
Yeah.
expect from you from your second album, Reproduction, that's coming out? Fingers crossed this year, right? In the
Yes, fingers
fall.
crossed, hair crossed, everything
Yeah,
crossed.
everything. I got my toes crossed and they can't see it.
Yes,
Everything crossed.
yes. Nah, nah. But yeah, it's hopefully, like, if everything goes well, I'm hoping to put it out in September, or maximum October, because you don't want to go into like Thanksgiving, Christmas territory. Like you want to put out music before that. So maximum October, but hopefully September. And Align 2.0 and Face Myself, which is another track that I released before Align. All these songs are actually a part of Reproduction, which is hopefully coming out in September or October this year. And I have some more new singles also that I'm planning to release before I release the full album. So there's this new song that I'm hoping to put out later this month or maximum early next month. It's called Fear, and it's definitely one of my biggest songs and music videos to date. Like I think like I'm definitely getting bigger and bigger in terms of like the kind of things that I'm trying to do and the visuals I'm trying to portray. And like um I also applied for this incredible grant from the New York Foundation of Arts, which helped me also just like bring that visual dream to life because of the grant that I was awarded. So I feel
Congrats.
that video, yeah, grant money, it's where it's at. Yeah, so it was a huge honor to be bestowed with that award money, and so I think that that helped me just bring this visual to life. And this is the music video I was telling you about that I shot last year in India. So a lot of the work was between New York and India, and essentially I was supposed to put it out last year, but obviously with everything that happened, that I kept postponing it, didn't want to put it out while we were all inside in this way. And now things are opening up slowly, so I feel a bit more like, okay, I'm gonna put it out and then let's see what happens. So Fear is the next song that's coming out. Okay. And then yeah, I'm gonna be putting out song by song,
news,
and then
guys, like,
yes, new music coming soon. Yeah, and then so people can be in touch on my Instagram, on Spotify, YouTube. I think these are my big spots where I'm mainly at. Like Instagram is huge, my website is huge. I would love for people to sign up on my newsletter. That's through my website, so that I can keep them informed of like anything that is, new with me, especially when I put out new music, and there's going to be new merch, and so lots of amazing things happening. And that video is one that like I've been postponing it because I've been trying to find the best way to get it to more people, so that it's not just like on my Instagram or my Facebook and then it's gone.
Mhm.
So I'm trying to like get the best way to push it so that it gets as much like eyes and ears on it, and it deserves it. So that's going to be coming out next month. That's what people can look forward to. And then reproduction, the entire album will be dropped by September this year, hopefully, if all goes well.
Yep.
Basically, like reproduction is also my take on just society's pressure on women to reproduce, to get married, to reproduce by a certain age. There's this like kind of there's this like sense of value, or like you're only a real woman if you do certain things that
Mhm.
women do apparently. So it's also just my like stance and my point of view that my music is my child, and like these songs are my babies, and like the amount of effort that we put in as creatives, as artists, into our work, I don't think that it's fair or it's necessary to downgrade that because we're not doing what is considered right in the eyes of society or the culture that we're a part of. So just because I'm not yet married or having children, that doesn't make me any less of a human, less of a woman, less of
Yeah.
less of a creative. So basically that's kind of the point of view of why I decided to name my album Reproduction as well. Yeah.
Awesome. I'm so looking forward to it. I cannot wait. I'm definitely getting my copy. You have a fan for life. For me,
Thank you.
I want the people's choice. Excuse me.
Thank you so
And
much.
is there anybody you want to give a shout out to before we wrap up, or just a big thank you? I know your brother definitely got to be one of them.
Oh, for sure, for sure. I mean, definitely to Blue Rhymes and Mariana Bertiano. So I think like she's been such a constant support for me, and I think honestly, like I have a couple of like my cousin sister Srinidhi, my best friends Tiffany, Sonal, and Alexandra Denda. Like I think as an artist and just someone who's doing something different, like we gotta support each other, and we also gotta keep um, being there for each other, because I think like also a lot of the times what happens in general is that like women are kind of pitted against each other. We're like always
Mhm.
seen as like trying to take each other down, or like and I feel like that's also the script that I was growing up with, that like it's cooler to have guy friends, and like girls suck, and like I'm not like other girls, and I'm like a tomboy or whatever. So like,
Mhm.
and I feel like now as an adult I'm really understanding the importance of female friendships, and just like how much we can do for each other, and how much we raise each other up, and just like how much more work there needs to happen so that we let go of these kind of shackles that have been placed on us, and our limits. So yeah, shout out to all my female friends, and to all the women that are trying to do something out there, to all the trans women, to all the people who are just trying to find their place in their life, and to feel accepted, to feel like they belong, and to who are in search of themselves and their identity. I think my music, my life mission is to speak and to sing for all of us. So um, that's who I would shout out to everyone that needs to hear it. This is for you.
Definitely. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank
Again,
you.
sorry for the connection thing that
No, no, no,
happened,
no worries.
but
All good, all good. I'm glad that I was honestly like at one point, Alvin, I was like, he's saying like, okay, 40 minutes, like, like maybe it's at first I was like, okay, 40 minutes is a good amount of time. Like, how much more do you need? We've been talking for straight up 1.5 hours. It's been an hour and a half, folks.
it's yeah.
The sun has set in
Oh
my side of the
wow,
world.
yeah, that's right. 8 hour
It's
difference.
gotten darker here.
Uh, yeah,
Yeah.
I'm working on that to making my videos. Like, that's actually one thing people tell me. Like, oh, you should make. Some tell me you need to go longer. Some like you need to go shorter. And then plus with TikTok, people just want short, fast things.
Short,
I'm like,
yeah,
I'm
that's
painting a
true.
picture of like I love the journey. Like I don't
Of
want to just
course,
give
the
you the finished
story.
product. Yeah, like I want to know like the struggles, the
Of
ups and
course.
downs. And I'm
And
glad you
what
shared
made
that.
that person, what brought them here and what made them who they are. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Exactly. Well, thank
Yeah.
you again so much for your time. Much
My
success. Can't
pleasure.
wait for that
Thank you.
album and the fall.
Yes. Thank you so much, Alvin. You're amazing as well. Thank you for these beautiful and insightful questions. You're doing a great job, and
Thank you.
I'm excited to see you also just slay and grow and continue doing you.
Well, thank you so much. And I'm definitely going to have you back on the show, hopefully.
Can't wait.
And we'll
Yes.
both be more successful. And I'll
Hopefully.
be hopefully pushing your next album,
Absolutely.
and or maybe that third
Absolutely.
album I told you about, you could take that
We'll
title.
see. Yes. Yes. Yes.
You take care.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
You as well, Alvin. Thank you so much. Bye.
Bye.